You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Ayman. Now it's Kasim.
Yes, Kasim, that's it.
Look at that. On my first try, bam. And guess what? Let me just highlight the true aspect here. Time zones suck. Okay. Where it's good afternoon to you, it is good morning for me. Getting up here.
Actually, it's actually night over here. It's night.
Oh my God. Like, see, that's what's ridiculous. You hear that? Like, I'm like, oh yeah, it's 5 a.m. Give me like an hour. And you're like, bruh, it's like 6 p.m. here, man. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, massive, gap between the time zones. I agree. Time zones do suck. They really do.
You know what the crazy thing is I realized I probably need a little bit of sleep because I sent the request and the link to this meeting that we're having to the wrong person.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here and I'm waiting. I'm just like, okay, he sent me a link. I'm like, surely Facebook and the internet isn't that delayed.
Yeah, I was sitting there like, what's going on here? And then I look and I'm like, oh my God, wait a minute. I said it's the wrong guy. I was like, so if we get a random other person named Ayman jumping in, don't be surprised.
No problem. You know what? Hey, there's only one of me right now, so I'm authentic as they come. So it's all good.
Pure form, brother. Now let me tell you, what do you do professionally, Ayman?
All right. Well, in terms of profession, I am a student, so I'm studying to become a communications majoring in advertising. But currently, as a job, I just work at a local grocery store, and I just work part time, trying to make ends meet.
What's your ending all goal path that you want to choose?
So, the story is with me is that this is actually a real rags to riches story for me personally. Like, I really like my story. So my story is that I came up from being a guy who was just like, he had no ambition, lazy, always in bed, always on phone, just constantly doing nothing, absolute jack. And eventually one day I realized, I didn't like this place where I was at, because for me personally, I've always been that type of guy. It's like, if I stay in one place for too long, I can't sit still. I'm just always out and about. I need to be moving. I need to be thinking. I need to be doing something. So I started with this engineering degree. Not proud of it at all. But I guess I can say when I'm not proud of it, is the fact is I wasted my time on it, but it was a lesson in itself. And when I was going through that phase, I was failing initially, really, really failing, like bad. And as I was failing, I realized it wasn't just something that I wanted to do, but I had to go through that the hard way, along the lines, I was failing. I had no money. I was basically racking up this debt. And as well, I was losing my friends. And I initially thought it was just because they didn't like me, but I realized it was me. So I needed to change that. So I went on this long year crusade. I call it a crusade. And during this time, I was basically starting from the bottom. Like I felt like I was at ground zero again. But that for me was the best thing I could do, because now I had the reason to get on my feet. And when I was on my feet, I realized what it is I could do. And when I put my mind to something, I realized that, hard work does pay off. And that was the lesson I learned. Hard work does pay off. So went through that crusade, had 2 jobs throughout that year. This was around in 2017. And I was working really, really hard. So I wasn't going to uni at all. Just basically work. And I got myself some money. And it was nice to see myself getting some money, because from somebody who had no job, and basically racked up a debt, I could finally see the value of money in the sense and how much it could help. So I basically used that money to pay off my debt, and I had a little bit of savings on the side. But also along the way, what was the most important thing for me during that time when I was on that crusade is that I was able to finally listen to myself and finally realize what it is I wanted. And what I really, really wanted was to become, an advertising communication student. So that was it.
I think a lot of people choose to go to school, especially kids my age, my generation, and you're seeing it younger and younger. It's the fact they choose to go on to college because they don't know what they want to truly do with their lives yet. And it sucks that sometimes people never get to realize or come to the realization of what they truly want to become
Yeah,
I hope it happens sooner than later, but it's a journey we're all walking. Sometimes it takes a little while to discover what you truly want to do. You know, if
definitely,
i-
definitely.
if you decide like, hey, I'm gonna order this nice piece of furniture off IKEA's website, then you start building it. Like, holy shit! Like, I actually enjoy missing half of the screws to build my project. Like, I enjoy that, and like, like for me, that's one of the most tasking things is trying to build something from start. I just like, can I just buy the display item?
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. It's true.
I think a lot of people get really comfortable and it scares me because I'm like, why are we comfortable with just what we have, but we're complaining
Exactly. Yeah,
about wanting more?
yeah. See, like I've always envisioned life from a perspective where, like, where you are at is just basically a place of, I guess, reflection. You know, whatever it is that you have now, just realize it could be taken away, but there is always more. And I know it's like a life lesson where like some people find it hard to accept, but for me personally, I accepted that, like, thankfully, pretty early in my life. I realized what it is I had could be taken away, but I had to find out the hard way, but better late than never. And when I did find that out, I realized there was so much more to work for. Like, when I was in that, basically that place, all I ever saw in front of me was just basically a black wall. There was nothing more that I saw. But I realized that it was just a black wall, and it was a wall. So I had to overcome that wall. And when I got over that wall, I saw there was so much more to offer. There was so much more to gain. There was so much more to work for. And I think that's what the mindset I have now. I'm just always trying to work for more, you know?
I think a lot of people, um, there's two types of people. I say there's one that there's the nocturnal people, the ones that are up when nobody else is up, and I
Hmm.
believe those types of people just can't function around the world or the average day person anymore because sadly
Yeah.
the second version, the average day person, up during the day, works a 9 to 5. it's not
Yeah.
it's not for everyone. A lot of people
Yeah.
want to choose to structure their lives off something that's kind of a little bit shady just only
Mm.
because they think that's the way they're supposed to live their life. And
Yeah.
everyone is unique. Everything is different about somebody. And, you do a thing called the Flipside podcast. And
Yeah.
this is where I really wanted to talk to you because even reading the title, there are always two sides. Like I heard that,
Yeah.
I was like, how old is this kid? And
Yeah.
he's from Australia and he thinks like me. Like that's really, really different. And I think a lot of people think that their thoughts are very, very unique, which they are. Yeah, they definitely are.
Yeah.
But
I do believe like everybody is different. Like everybody has that mindset. As you said, there are always two sides. I'll definitely 100% vouch for that.
yeah, but like people don't even understand the fact that just because we're so unique in our thoughts, so unique in our passions, we act very much the same because we're all facing the same problems. We're all facing something that's affecting us and we're dealing it literally in the same way and having the same emotions. We're choosing to be comfortable and we're letting it slide. We're willing to bitch and complain about it, but we're not willing to change anything. And I just tell
It's
people,
funny you should say that actually. Sorry to cut you off, but it's funny you should say that because I was actually just doing an interview with one of my friends, and she initially said that because we're all trying to be different or because we are all unique, in some way, it's like we're all trying to say that we're the same. It's weird how that contradiction works. I don't know if that would probably relate to what it is what we're talking about, though.
well, see, the fact is, people want to complain, but they don't want to do anything to change their lives. If you're in a shitty
That's true.
situation, I always chalk it up to Sam Kinnison's bit about starving kids in Africa. He always says like, oh, you don't like living in Africa, you don't like not having food. And he goes, then get the fuck out of here. Put all your shit in the moving trucks. Let's go. You see this? This is sand. You know what's gonna grow here? Fucking sand. And he's like, he's
Yeah.
literally highlighting something and trying to make it
Mm.
funny. But I see that like people they choose to complain about stuff because it's so easy for them to do that because I don't believe people are connected like they used to be. They're
Yeah,
we're
100%.
Twitter, Instagram, social media, all these things that are such a major benefit. The fact I can still talk to you by sending a link through
Mm.
Facebook and then being able to connect you
Yeah.
when you're on the other side of the basically like the country, not country, globe.
The
I'm like,
world. Yeah.
yeah, you look at that. I'm like, that's awesome. I could be able to do that. And it's awesome
Yeah.
I'm able to even have a conversation with you because we think alike. And when you
Yeah.
say like there's always two sides to something, I try my hardest every single day if I get into an argument with someone to stop and rationalize it from their point of view. I think a lot of people don't
Right. Right.
choose to do that. They choose to run with the narrative, the notion that they believe in, and they don't let any new information come in. Let me tell you
Yeah.
something. If you don't let new information come in, you're missing out completely. Now, I've
Oh my
podcast.
God, somebody said it. Thank you. Thank you. Somebody has said it. Thank hallelujah. Not even kidding, because like I was actually saying that not too long ago to somebody, because me and this guy, like from work, we butt heads all the time. I can't even begin to tell you how many times. And we're always on the topic of like trying to connect in a conversation. His mindset isn't exactly like mine. And that's fair play. You know what I mean? I understand everybody's different. But it's just the fact is, right? This is the part that annoys me. It's like, because I can't see from his point of view, he thinks that like I'm just basically trying to like show some sort of hostility. Like he will not basically venture out of what it is he knows. Like he's not willing to accept new views. Me, on the other hand, I'm very malleable very malleable in that sense. Like if I see something that's from a certain point of view, I realize my view is not exactly 100% correct. There will always be somebody who is more smarter than me, more knowledgeable than me. Like they have something or they have been through something that is more than what I know. My opinion could be just something that's just flat out, but they probably have the experience.
I try and tell people like they're like, oh, that dude's just hardcore Christian. I try and stay away from him, and I hear that. I'm like, why are you staying away from that person? Why don't you just try to understand it from their point of view too? Did you
Yeah,
ever think they might have had some experience or some type of trauma in their life that affected them, and then eventually they turned to God and found safe sanctity in that? And the guy's like,
yeah,
I didn't think of it that way. I'm like, because you're not thinking from that person's shoes. You're not putting
yeah.
yourself
You're
in
not
their
putting yourself in
position.
issue. Yeah,
I've been pissed off at the store with a Snicker bar behind somebody that has like 80,000 items in line. I've sit there like, are you serious? Like you can't let me go in front of you. But I did that in my head because I realized whatever is affecting me and be making me overwhelmed, I chalk it up to the same people that get angry in traffic, the same people that choose to yell at people on the street. They're dealing with an emotion. They're dealing with a struggle. They have so many problems in their life that's going on right now where they feel overwhelmed. And the sad fact
yeah.
is, what happens when you become overwhelmed is you project your problems out onto anybody. Like, have you ever tried to talk to somebody? Now, like, it's becoming more and more prevalent now because we don't communicate anymore. But you're talking to someone and they just start projecting all their shit onto you. And you're like,
Yeah,
whoa.
it has happened to me quite a lot, but thankfully I've always been that type of person where like people have come to me and they just vent, so thankfully I do have a group of people who I hang around with and I talk to. They trust me enough. Like there have been times where they just, I've seen their happy side and I've seen their angry side, I've seen their sad side. But one of the things that I really, really love and what I really confide in people is the fact is that they confide in me. Like say for instance they're having a bad day, or they're having a really shitty day, and they just basically just go all out. Like I know they're not trying to project their energy at me, but they're trying to like basically vent, and I appreciate that. They confide in me, as I said. I've had a lot of people who just come up to me and just vent, and I just sit there and I listen. I'm not one to like basically tell you what you shouldn't do or what you should do. I just basically be like, okay, you know what, let it out of your system. Go, 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 let it out. Swear as much as you can, cuss as much as you want. I do not care, And when I feel as if you're at a right state of mind to basically listen, then I'll say my 2 cents, I just really feel as if nowadays people just need somebody to talk to.
I have one podcast I will never release, and it's not because it's bad. It's because I did it for the guy. It was one of my
Mm.
one of my good friends, and he was going through some stuff, and I was like, let's do another podcast. And like, I did it because that's a way I can connect. And I wanted to see, I guess it was selfish in my own intent. I wanted to see if I can get him to come to a sensitive and open up on a podcast. Mostly
Right.
because I was dealing with psychology classes. So I wanted to see if I was able to kind of understand a person a lot more just from the base of like trying to do it over a show. So
Right. Right.
I don't post these live. I usually just record them and they save them on my computer or something, and so I can always post one every day. And I told him, I'm
Yeah.
sitting down in front of him, and we're talking. And he's like, yeah, like kind of giving me half-ass. I'm like, so what's going on in your life, man? And he's like, I'm overwhelmed. I can't. I have a kid on the way. I'm only 20 something years old. It's not fair. My life's kind of going to crap. And I can't handle it anymore. There's just so many voices telling me like I'm not worth anything. I'm like, stop. Listen to me when I say this. Listen to my voice, okay? I said, put your hand on the table. He goes, okay. I'm like, now feel that table. You feel what that is? It's a wood table, brother. Let me tell you, it's made of maple, made of birch. I try my best to lower, his kind of feelings a little bit with a sense of humor. I find people connect a little bit better with a sense of humor. I said, that's birch. I was like, look at the grains of that table. Feel that table. Now just focus on the feeling of it. And he goes, okay. And I'm like, you hear this book? And I grabbed a book. I started flipping the pages. You hear that? Whoosh, whoosh, that crinkling of the pages, all that. I was like, listen to that. You know what that is? That's an immediate thing. That's an immediate thing. Shit that's going on in your head, it's hard to deal with. I understand, but you got to cancel that noise out because those are just worries. Those are just emotions you can't be focusing on. And I told him, now hit your knee. He's like, what? I'm like, hit your knee. And he hits his knee. I'm like, harder. And I keep telling him, hit it harder and harder and harder and harder. And so he's like literally punching himself like Mike Tyson to the knee. He goes, ow, my knee really hurts. So I'm like, you feel that though? That's pain. Okay. The stuff you're experiencing, I understand. I know a lot about mental health issues. Okay. I've studied it and I've watched it drain me. It's like wearing a wet towel when you get to see someone go through some shit. But I'm like, you got to understand those things about you feeling overwhelmed. Focus in the moment. If you start feeling it, look at the floor, take a deep breath, relax, reset, because those problems are going to affect you in the future. If I can experience a tire going out and then get my tire fixed, and then 3 days later another tire goes out and I have to get that one fixed, losing $1,000 in 3 days, and I'm sitting there at the mechanic shop and I go, can we kind of hurt? And I stop myself because I was projecting my problems out onto them. And I said, take your time. Thank you so much. And I went back inside and I sat down like a little boy and handled my emotions inside my head. And I realized we are becoming so overwhelmed and we don't know how to communicate with anybody anymore. I'm like, don't see the guy that freaks out in the store as a nut job. Look at him as going through some shit. Just be real for a minute.
Yeah, just like realize that these are just people. They have problems. They go through a lot of shit all the time. You just got to understand.
I'm like,
Definitely.
I'm the type of guy that's like, this podcast, I'll never release it. I told him I did it for him because while we're recording, he lowered himself in front of, like, he totally forgot about the audio recorder that was there. And he was like, please post that up, dude. Like, you're going to help somebody with that. And I was like, he was like, I had 14 therapists. Let me tell you, you're better than all of them just because you treated me like a person, not like a client. I'm like, don't give me that credit, dude. I'm not anyway a master of psychology. I'm nowhere close. There are people hell a lot smarter than me. But see, the thing is, I'm open. I'm ready. I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to be told I'm wrong. I'm ready to admit that I'm wrong. And I'm ready to sit there and try and decipher the answers for myself. It doesn't matter whatever the topic is. I think people are so closed off. I tell them, I'm like, you could take anything I say and shove it right out the window. You only have the keys to your car to drive it, man. My whole podcast started because I talked a buddy off a ledge at 3:00 in the morning where he was going to jump off his house. I ended up having that kid on my podcast.
No way.
He was an amazing person. And let me tell you, I'll send you which episode. I'll send you which episode it is so you can listen to it. I think you'll find something in it. But I just told him, like, what do you want to do with your life? And he's like, I just feel like I've been too structured. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. All right. I'm going to be the GPS in your car that tells you take a left when you're on the middle of a bridge. All right. Like, that's not what you're definitely supposed to be doing. Like, you got to find who you are. You got to truly be like you. Everything that you experience in your life, all the problems, they were given to you. You can handle them. Someone in your different situation, another person couldn't be in your situation. It wouldn't happen. Bruce Lee has the best quote, you got to flow like water. You literally have to move around your problems. If you can't break it down, you have to move around them. You have to learn to manage and keep on pursuing and persevering.
100%. Definitely agree. It's like as I said, you have to be malleable in that sense. You have to try and find your way through a problem and try to find yourself through to the end. But you see, like, I know it's easy for us to say, like, you have a problem, you got to see it through to the end and all this. But, like, I realize that a lot of people, they just always, just look at the problem as something that they'll never, ever overcome. Like, unfortunately, I have met some people who just look at a problem and just feel as if there's no gateway, there's no way out, and they think that they'll never get out of the problem. But I tell them, I go, listen, you have to realize, as you said, that the problem has been specifically tailored for you because you know and you have the strength to get through it. And when you actually, I realize when you give people that sense of optimism or make them realize what it is, the strength that they have, they will just basically backtrack for a second and be like, okay, hold on, maybe I can go through this. Maybe I can. And then from there on, like, you'll see them progress through. Like, I've seen it where they've basically took the problem on head on, because I'm the type of person who just basically will not take no for an answer when it comes to any sort of problem in my face. Example, like, one of the biggest principles that I hold dear to me is fear. Face everything and rise. If a problem hits me, okay, you know what? I'll let it probably hit me for a little bit, but I'm not going to sit in the exact same spot forever. I've got to take it on. I've got to head it on. It's like, it's just basically like, what's the best analogy I can think of? Like a bull going at it at like, just basically at a target. You know what I mean? It's like brush right through it. Do not let that stop you, and never ever let it stop you, And like, one of the biggest people, one of my biggest influences actually taught me that was Gary Vee. Just take a problem head on and just do not take no for an answer. Don't quit. Stop fucking complaining. You have 100% control of your life. There is no reason why you should let anything or anyone hinder you. You are your own person at the end of the day. Just do it. If you want to be that type of person who just basically wants to kick back and just stay in one scene, it's like, yeah, be my guest. You do that. But is that something that's going to bring you happiness? For me personally, that won't. I'd rather take a problem head on and just basically find a solution to overcome it. And once that solution has been implemented, I know I have acquired knowledge and wisdom and how to face this problem again if it were to appear again.
Yeah, and nothing that's ever easy there's always a shot of failing. And anything you do, there's a percent of failing. And I think a lot of people look at that failure as being the prime option, even if that percentage is so small. Well, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
It sucks to fail, it does, but it makes you work harder, it makes you experience more. I actually, very few things I do have a problem with is the fact that there's participation trophies and like everyone's a winner, all that type of stuff. I really think that is very good for young ages, but you cannot be 20 something years old losing a soccer game and then everybody gets a trophy. You have to understand that when you think that losing or not trying your hardest or not trying as much as the other person or doing more than the other person, you truly lose the drive. You lose everything. You're not going to be able to pursue what you want to do. And I hear that. I'm like, man, it's so hard to see. Like, I know when I lost a game, I know when I did that, and I know what happened. I know what I needed to work on to improve myself. And I came back hard and strong. And next thing I know, I won. But you got to go through that. I would never trade any of my past experiences for anything. I would not give any of my problems I faced, any of that back. I love those and I cherish those. It was hard as hell in the moment. But I'm letting you know, it's like being on a boat, man. You start getting holes in the ship. You got to repair the hull. You can't just sit there and gloss over it. I sat there and I turned into a better person because of that. I have a pretty rational head on my shoulders. I still have a hell of a lot to learn, and I'm never going to stop learning. The fact is, I'm putting in the time, the effort. It doesn't matter if I lose sleep. It doesn't matter if I do this. I'm going to try and understand as much as I possibly can about the world and the people that make it up, because those are the true things that are important to me.
100%. I really, really like that, the fact that you put it that way, because not many people actually have that kind of ambition or that drive or that hunger to learn new things. I've met my fair share of lazy people. They're just, they're happy in one place, and like, I'm not basically dragging or bagging anyone who just wants to be in that one place. Like, listen, that's you. If you want to be that, that's you, But I just feel as if personally, me, I'm not like, as I said, I'm a very hungry, ambitious person. I want to learn. You put something in front of me, there is no way I'm going to turn it to the side. If I feel as if it's something that's valuable, I'm going to learn. Even if it's not valuable, sometimes it could just be a reminder. Maybe it's something I've already known a while ago, but I've just forgotten it in this time and moment. And I just feel as if I really need to remind, because maybe I need to bring back that energy again. Not many people will have that hunger and that basically that energy to go forward and just not just go forward like little baby steps, like just go hardcore. Just learning for me is one of the biggest foundation principles for me personally. You just got to learn.
You face like some of the most immediate issues as a student at a university, dealing with the struggles of trying to pay for your education, also feed yourself, and then also do these other type of things. Like the way you kind of, you do your podcast a little bit, dealing with like helping those students and giving advice to younger generations and stuff that are going to end up experiencing the same thing. We're all on the same path right now, sadly. We're all not branching off anymore. A lot of people are very, very, at least what I've seen, a lot of people are very much comfortable on the path of everybody else because they think that's what they're supposed to be doing. And let me tell you something, you have a purpose, you have something out there you're meant to do. Stop dwelling on the past. Okay. Stop looking at, oh my God, I have this car payment. I have this, I have this, I have that, I have this. And brace yourself, because the storm's coming, and the storms might not end for a while, but you got to understand it's going to be over. There's going to be that day where you're just like, everything figures out. You understand what you want to be in life. I've met so many people where they're like, I don't know what I want to do. Honestly, I'm not happy at all with what I'm in. I'm like, okay, then do you want to change it? They're like, I really do. And I'm like, then take the steps. Like, you don't have to be there any longer, but I need money. Yeah, I get that, man. But at the same time, is a life of happiness that's short and sweet worse than a life of just being comfortable and living forever? I wouldn't want that. People ask me all the time about, would you ever want to be immortal? Would you ever want to live forever? I'm like, no, I don't, honestly. Like, why? I'm like, honestly,
personally,
it's too much. You talk to anybody, you talk to or see any movie like Vin Diesel in The Last Witch Hunter or Dracula, they get upset that they've been living for so long because they watch their loved ones die. They watch so many things change. They watch the world get corrupt around them. I'm like, the way the world's going right now, it's not going really well. And it's not that we need to change the world, not only environmentally, there's so many factors that apply there, but the fact we need to change people, because sadly we're built on a turd of a foundation. We're not structured correctly. We're structuring ourselves like how we should be acting and how these things go, which with laws, that is correct. Like I said, I try and see the other side too. But the way creativity is, it's something you can't lock down to any certain jurisdictions or standards. People's creativity sparks in the weirdest and amazing ways. I see somebody light up about like, dude, let me tell you something. I'm interested in the Industrial Revolution. And then he just starts going like crazy about the Industrial Revolution in front of me. I'm like, what the hell? I didn't know this about you. Like, this isn't the guy that cracks the fart joke at the grocery store. And he's looking up all these books. I decided to do another series of my own podcast called Fill in the Blank, which was just focusing on topics. And that was all because of everyone I've had on. I asked them what they were super interested in. I Googled it. And I looked up multiple documents and as much information on the topics as possible, from conspiracy theories to whatever. And people are like, how can you have all that information in your head and not dwell on it all the time? I'm like, because you're looking at the past. Shit happens. Shit's going to happen. It's not going to stop happening.
Yep. 100%. 100% shit does happen, and there's this really great point that you just made. It's like your creativity will come at points where even you don't realize what's going to happen. What I mean? It just comes out of the blue. Like there's this podcast I listen to. It's pretty famous over here in Australia. It's called The Ice Project, and he basically talks about how it is that he's basically come up with these ideas and how it is that he comes to understand his creativity and when it comes. And it's funny that you said that, because that was just like a light bulb moment in my head. I'm just like, oh, wait a minute, he's right. Because basically this guy, he basically says like my best ideas come to me when I'm like in the shower, or when it is I'm not looking at my phone, or come at the most like unexpected times. Like Joe Rogan as well. he also says this, he also says that. His best ideas come to him when he's like basically up in the air, when he has no Wi-Fi, no social network, nothing. It's like he has his best ideas up there. So when you say that, I'm just like, yeah, you know what, 100%. Your creativity will come to you at times you least expect it. You know, I guess the saying is true though. Expect the unexpected.
Very, very true. And I always chalk it up like I start looking at Disney movies and analyzing them a little bit more. The fact that like they have such a deep meaning that I totally glossed over as a kid. Like I look back and hear like the one thing everyone always calls me, Robbie Robinson. It's not Robinson, okay? I'm not Meet the Robinsons. So, but I looked at that, I was like, I'm gonna watch this movie again because everyone keeps mistaking my last name for this. And I clicked on it, and let me tell you something: keep moving forward. That little quote that I thought was
Exactly. Keep
ridiculous and glossed
going.
over had such deep meaning. Keep
Mm,
moving forward. Sometimes you need a deep experience. I've experienced a bad week, bad month, bad year. And let me tell you,
mm,
man, I pulled some stupid realizations and deep meaning out of some really dumb stuff. I saw a butterfly fly
yeah,
across the street,
yeah,
just miss a car. And you know what I said? I said, that's all of us. We're that butterfly floating through life, and that problem just misses us sometimes. And I was like, that's a
yeah.
good realization for life. I was like, damn, that was deep, like a fortune cookie open up that was read by Morgan Freeman. Like it had some impact. And I'm sitting there like, huh, wait a minute. If that butterfly would have just got hit by a car, I would have took a whole nother route with that. I would have been like, the world's crap. That's just we're all that butterfly. We're just gonna get squashed in the end. And I was like, but it's all how I decided to take it. I think that's what
Mm.
people need to
It,
do.
it's just, I think as well, like I really like, there's another analogy I just thought of because I really like that butterfly and car thing. Because, like, as well, like, think of the car as like a problem. Like, you know, sometimes if you just basically walk through a problem, you know, or just brush you, you know what I mean? Like, basically, what I'm trying to say is like, you're the butterfly, the car's coming, and you know, like, if you stay in the same place long enough, it's gonna hit you. But what you have to do is you just gotta keep moving forward. You gotta keep moving, and then eventually the problem's just going to run by you, but at the end of the day you come out like wholehearted and stronger and wiser. You know what I mean? Like, for me, the main reason why I started this podcast was initially as because I was in this very, very dark place. As I said, mentioned before, I don't like being in this one particular place. I need to get moving. And I've been through some hardships before, but this year, earlier this year, like around March, April, the worst time of my life. So I needed to push forward. And the way I saw that, the biggest stepping stone for me was a podcast. Why? Because it wasn't just in the sense to just talk a bunch of crap, but I really felt as if it was a therapy. You know what I mean? Like I could express myself over the mic. Like naturally, I'm a very shy, kind of timid person, you know. Unless I know you, I'm very, very all out. But when I have this microphone in front of me and I press record and I'm talking about whatever topics that comes to mind, I feel myself. I feel that energy. I feel the enthusiasm. And I can see myself doing this every single day. It's like just, you know, just probably just talking about nonsense, but sometimes just referring it back to something in which I feel as if I would be passionate about. You know, it's just that topic. You know what I mean?
I think I just thought of this, so bear with me on it. The fact that
Yeah.
people are comfortable with the life they have because they choose like life bends you down and makes you a little bit of its bitch. Sadly, it does. It's going to do that, and it's
Yeah.
not probably ever going to stop. But the fact is, people,
Yeah.
I feel like people that deal with so many problems and are not handling it, we have those problems. Just like looking at your picture and seeing like there's a white circle, there's a black circle, and they kind of come together, and then there's a little bit of dots in between. We're all those. We're all that middle point. But sadly, people get
Yeah.
drift to the right and they get in the all dark black side because they believe the world is never going to truly be inspirational. And I'm like, you got to take that and fuel it. You got to put that in your car and you got to let that drive you sometimes. Sometimes to get your life out of a worse situation, you have to understand, I'm tired of feeling like this. I don't want to feel like this anymore. And I like I said, I
Yes.
just thought of this. I think people and life's problems kind of bend you down and age you of your years, making you a 90-year-old person spiritually and mentally, and literally bending you down, crippling you to the point where you're hunched over, licking the floor because your face is so low down to the ground now because you're just bent and crooked. And I was
Yeah.
like, you can choose to be that person, or you can choose to say, I'm not going to let it happen anymore, and straighten yourself up and realize like the first step to healing yourself is by handling problems and things one step at a time, and know that that thing that's happening to you right now is not going to affect you 5 minutes later. You you have to you have to take
100%.
you have to take
There's this other
steps.
analogy. Yeah, there's this other analogy I just really thought of. Like, it goes back to the point of basically licking the floor. Like, I just basically thought of it in like a sense of an animal hierarchy. Like, basically, like, say for instance, you're out on the African plain. Would you rather be the scavenger, the hyena, or would you rather be the lion, which gets the full course meal? Obviously, there are going to be times where you're going to be left pretty disappointed, with what it is that you're going through. But eventually, I reckon if just continue to persist, keep moving forward, you will see yourself to the end. Like the way I like to put it is the puzzle will be complete, but so will you.
I think a lot has to do with uneducation too, not school education, but just
Mm,
experience. I always chalk up to experience being
experience.
knowledge. Now, I want to give you an example of something. And I want to hear your thoughts on it. So here we go. It's about General Butt Naked. You ever heard of this guy?
No, I have not, but please tell
Yeah,
me.
I know. That pause was good because I immediately thought of your face going General Butt Naked. Jesus. Well, let me tell you something. This
Yeah,
guy
my face was just clueless.
this guy was an African warlord. He literally fought naked. That's what he did. He believed that being invisible and letting it all literally hang out. Only thing he wore was some types of leather shoe and AK-47 strapped around his chest, and wore a beret. That was it.
Mm,
Now, he had an army
mm,
battalion called the Naked Brigade. And what they would do is they would go and they would kill people. They would eat babies. They would do all these types of things. Sounds horrible guy, right?
yeah.
But
Mm,
no one looked at what he was doing. And people are like, well, what he used to, like, he even talks about it. What he used to do is he used to hide in water, like under the water when kids would play at the little lake or something. He would go up and he
mm-hmm,
would grab them, bring them underwater and snap
mm.
their neck and kill them that way. Like that's what he would do. And he would fight in wars and these types of things. And you're like, oh my God, that dude needs to burn in hell. Yeah. But have you seen it from his perspective though? What do you mean his
What's
perspective?
his perspective?
Are you yeah, exactly. Are you rationalizing what he did? No, but let's look at what he did. He believed he was the devil. He believed that's what he did. In some places, they believe, like Mayans, when they used to do the little soccer games with the heads, when the winner won, they would eat the winner because they would want that pure that winner meant they would want that. They would want that energy. They think that could, like devouring their greatest warriors would turn them into a great warrior. It's all about uneducation.
Oh,
He's in I was like, he's in Africa, okay? I'm not rationalizing what he did. What he did is fucked up, but his morals were completely different.
yeah, it's fucked up, definitely.
But look at this
Mm,
though.
mm.
Now
But
going
you don't
under
know exactly where somebody's mindset
you're not seeing his perspective of things. Now, what happened now is
is.
he came to America and he had a realization with Christ and he became a hardcore Christian, and now he devotes all of his money, all of his time into helping eliminate basically child warriors, helping them realize like, let's build ourselves up, let's build a house, let's do these things to make our lives better, and you don't have to be a child soldier anymore. Like he is completely apologetic to what he did.
Mm,
He says, I see the faces of them every morning. That was his life that he chose to live, and
yeah.
he's dealing with the problems he has to deal with, and he's not glossing over them. But I looked at it, I'm like,
Mm,
you were just unexperienced. Because the first of all, what's the
yeah.
most common things that people do in society, at least wherever you grow up? Humankind has developed off of looking and modeling themselves off something. We learn to model ourselves off the animals that we
Yeah.
killed. The animals we have here in America, grizzly bear, these types of things, be strong like a bear, be fast like a cheetah. We have learned
Mm,
to adapt to the animals that are in our environment. Now, Let's look at Africa,
Mm.
okay? Let's look at that scenario where he grabbed that child by the lake and brought him underwater and snapped his neck. What's one animal that does that? That's pretty dominant in Africa. Alligators.
The lion. Oh, you would say alligators? I was
A
probably say
lion
lion.
doesn't chill
Lions are
underwater.
like, hyena.
A lion doesn't chill underwater. No,
You know what? Yep,
you
I
look at
didn't remember that. My bad. Yep.
you look at an alligator. An alligator, what they do is they wait for a gazelle to start
Mm.
or an antelope to start drinking from the lake. They grab it, bring it underwater, and do that roll shit where it snaps their neck and kills them, and then they plant it either in the mud or they decide to eat it. See, the fact is, he was looking at
Yep.
the animals around him, the lions being ferocious. Lions attack their own cubs. Lions will attack their own family. Lions will attack little things that they feel like they can take over. The whole reason is he was trying to
Mm.
survive in a world he felt like he didn't know what to do. He wasn't equipped with the tools. His morals were different. I'm not saying it's rationalizing what he
Mm.
did, but he understands that he was wrong. He understands that like this is something he was inexperienced of. He didn't know the things. And it all
Yeah.
goes up to the
Yeah.
subject of morality. A lot of people don't understand what
Yeah.
morals mean. A lot of people don't even have morals anymore. A lot of people are like, oh, that's bad. I can't do that. And you're like, did no one ever tell you you can't play video games at the dinner table? No one ever told you that? And he goes, no, I just didn't
Mm.
know. I was uneducated. I see it all the time. I go out to eat. Next thing I know, there's a little kid playing on his cell phone and it's really, really loud. And I'm like, nobody's letting, like the parents aren't even telling that kid to turn it down. He's at the dinner table. You know what I mean? But he has different morals. He has different things going on
Yeah.
in his own head right now. So I don't get mad about it. I'm just
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
it's whatever you want to believe and whatever you want to distill. This guy did some horrible shit and sees the faces of the people he killed every single
Mm.
day. And he doesn't want to be forgiven for it. He just wants people to understand that he's going to take as much time and effort as he possibly can to change himself. Yeah, he did some messed up shit, but he turned
Yeah.
out to be a pretty inspiring individual just from the fact that he has a whole documentary called The Redemption of Butt Naked. He's literally talking
The
about
redemption.
everything I have money wise, everything now goes into helping children because I
Mm.
realize I was wrong
Yeah.
with what I did.
What I did
Sometimes
was
it takes that drastic
yeah.
change for people to truly change.
Mm-mm. And you wouldn't think like somebody like that, somebody who committed that kind of atrocity would like basically make this whole turn into like just basically helping people like from snapping children's neck underneath water to basically helping them out like that drastic change. Like some people find that incredibly unbelievable. I don't really like using that word unbelievable. Personally, I just feel as if it's a really stupid word because for me personally, nothing is unbelievable. Like, but when you go through, when you basically see his journey, you would think it's unbelievable. It's like, wow, you hated, well, not hated, but like you committed these crimes, these sins, and basically helping him now, like, 100%. Like, I would personally feel as if like you needed to go through that to understand what it is you do wrong. Like, my personal principle, my personal feeling is sometimes you need to take a step back, and sometimes you would stay there for a while, but just know that once you take that step back you're going to take 2 steps forward. So you're going to go further than what it is that you basically where you were before. But you got to take that step back. And I think sometimes some of us really need to take a step back in order to go forward even further.
I think a lot of people need to rationalize that your problems are your own and you're given them
Mm,
for a reason because you're the one that's tough enough to deal with them. I couldn't handle your problems and you couldn't handle my problems. But the fact is, we don't need to look at
definitely.
that like, oh, they don't care about us. No, you need to look at it as we're one and the same. If you're going to give out your problems and put all your things and project all your hate, anger, and all the things going wrong in your life onto somebody else, then realize they got to do it too. They're going to either choose it to do it someone else that can't handle it, and it might push them off the ledge. But at the same time, you have to look. Why don't you tell me what's going on in your life, and I'll tell you what's going on in mine? And next thing you know, you guys are just talking
Yeah.
and conversating, and then the problems go away. You're able to talk for at least an
Yeah.
hour and be real until they forget about the real world shit, whether it's complaining on a podcast or not. It's about understanding that we don't communicate anymore and people are becoming full because they have no way to get this pent up aggression and problems out anymore.
Mm. It's like it's good that you're saying, like personally, I just feel as if like people just need to talk. And unfortunately, in today's society, some people are just very, very closed off like that. Like they don't trust anybody. And personally, I know what that feels like because I used to be that person too. You know what I mean? Like I used to basically have this disdain, this hate towards people for no apparent reason, basically. It was just me. You know what I mean? I was just this very antisocial person where I just didn't want to speak with anybody. I didn't feel the need to, you know. But I realized how much it helps to just speak to somebody. And when you just speak to somebody, you realize things about yourself you didn't even know. But also as well, you're more open to accepting other people how they are. Like I've had my fair share of talking to people and just sitting them down, just having a coffee and just talking, and you never realize how much benefit a conversation, just one teeny tiny conversation how much it can help you. Before you know it, you guys are hanging out, just having a good time, and you're just talking about just a bunch of things, but it all started from that one conversation. Personally, I just really feel as if society nowadays just really needs to be open, just talking to people, and as humans, I just really feel as if we've just lost that, like, unfortunately, as much as I do love social media, I just feel as if in some sort of way we've lost that because everybody's nowadays just so inclined to look at their phone or looking at their likes or looking out at the next, like, basically new trending things online, that we've basically lost our ability to talk to what it is around us, like being aware of what it is around us instead of just looking at a phone all the time. Personally, that's what I feel, at least.
I mean, I'm 100% believe in that as well. I'm the one that puts his phone inside his car and goes inside the grocery store and actually goes grocery shopping. I'm part of that rare breed. You know what I mean? I believe that you become too hooked on your device, you become too nulled to life. That song "Comfortably Numb." You're just literally just walking around, not sensing the world anymore. You don't know what it's like to go out onto the porch. At least most people don't go out onto the porch, drink a drink or a coffee, whatever, and just experience that morning air, experience
Yeah,
the world, experience the
yeah,
realness.
yeah,
No, people need to have that cell phone on them. And I have to ask you one of
yeah.
the biggest questions. Do you have hopes for the future, or do you think it's going to take a drastic change to turn our heads around?
I think with the way that humans have advanced, I do believe that there is hope, because, like, I look at the sense of humans in sense of fashion, like clothing wise, it's funny that I should say this because as much as we try to progress, somehow we end up going backwards, like, not backwards in a bad sense, like in the sense of fashion. Like, for example, not too long ago, it was the, I guess, like skinny jeans or like the Vans or the Chuck Taylors, whatever it is you want to wear. But for some odd reason, we're leaning backwards to what it is we used to wear. Like nowadays, I see people wearing like the old, like, you know, like 60s and 70s kind of vibe, and it's like that hippie vibe. I'm just like, you know what? If fashion can go this way, we can too, But unfortunately, what is the problem to me is that we feel as if we go backwards in that sense, we feel as if like it's just hindering our progression. I do believe that we can, we can progress forward. There is a drastic change. It just seems very, very hard to believe right now, but I do have hope for it. I do.
I do too, man. And if anybody could take anything away from this podcast, is just to understand the fact that you can't be set in your ways. You can't be set being comfortable. You have to realize that comfortability factor is probably one of the biggest problems that's going on in your life. Even though
Yeah.
it might seem same, and it might seem so easy just to be comfortable and live the same day over and over again. But let me tell you something. You're never gonna you don't want to say that you were comfortable with life. You want to say you lived a life.
Yes, 100%, 100%. Like some people like that are like, as you said, they'd rather be comfortable where it is they are. But I don't like, if you're really, really comfortable, are you really, really living? I personally feel as if like the risk, having that adrenaline where you just like basically done something that you've overcame, you're like, okay, it's no longer a factor. It's no longer hindering my progression. I no longer have to think about it. I've overcame it. All right, what's the next challenge? Come at me. That's basically how I would take it, at least.
Yeah, it's all about taking it one step at a time, man. And look, I want to say
One
thank
step
you
at a
so
time.
much for being on my podcast, man. This was
No,
awesome.
thank you.
The
Thank
fact that
you.
we can connect, and literally our podcast kind of hit around the same basis when it talks about people and overcoming stuff. But it's
Yeah.
funny, you sent me a list and all this stuff like, hey, what should I do to be on your show? And like, I'm super nervous and excited. I'm like, bro, I'm just Robbie, man. Just talk. Let's just think. We all think pretty much the same. Everyone kind of comes down to the fact that they're afraid that the world's becoming this comfortable spot. I'm like, then let's change it. It starts with one person, it
Let's change
says,
it.
and then it's got
Yeah.
to keep affecting everyone. Whether you think it's going to change in the next
Mm.
20 years or not, it might take something drastic to change it. But I know that it's there. We have a deep human nature to, first of all, to conquer, but also a deep human nature to care. And I think you're losing the battle when you choose to let the conquering
Exactly.
side overcome the caring side.
100%, bro. Like, like honestly, I'm really, really happy that I got the chance to just sit down with you and just have this candid convo. Like I love to talk. That's one of my main advocate when I usually say that. Like I usually say with such enthusiasm. Like I love to talk, but honestly, just sitting down with you and just talking about this, honestly, it really makes me feel like it makes me feel hopeful that there are people out there with the same mindset as me and the same you know ambitions where they just want to just get out there and just persist and they want to see the world change. Unfortunately the world in what we live in, it's not a very good place, but I do believe there is huge hopes for it. Just right now it just seems like it's hard to see, but I do believe that there is big hope. And so I really want to thank you, Robbie, for letting me come on this podcast.
No
Really, really
problem,
appreciate
man.
it.
It's all about getting connected. And I want to give you here a minute at the end to be able to tell people where they can find you and get your awesome information, man, because they need to look at your podcast and realize like there's people that think just like you. And there's people that are going through stuff like they're swallowed up by debt. They're dealing with emotional problems. We just need more people to realize that they are very unique, but the problems that we all face are pretty much one and the same.
Yeah. Well, guys, my name's Ayman Kasim. You guys can find me, my podcast, The Flipside. If you find it's like this little Venn diagram, I talk about student struggles and education and careers, but most importantly, I do like referring it back to life. So if you guys want to find me, I'm on Instagram, theflipside.pod, Facebook, The Flipside. And if you want to follow my personal account, it's ayman.kasim, so ayman.kasim. I look forward to seeing you guys and hopefully you guys, we can connect. And thank you, Robbie, for having me on here. And hopefully we can also have this kind of conversation as well.
No problem, man. And hey, just so people know out there, be like Eamon, aim for higher heights.
Now, well, if you want to take my advice from this, be like Robbie, man, aim for even higher heights.
I was trying to find something that rationalized your name, but you were in a tougher spot because nothing rhymes with Robbie.
Well, I tried, man. I tried. I was just basically throwing back the compliment right back at you, bro.
It
So
was
really, really appreciate it.
it was awesome, dude. And thank you so much for being on my podcast.